Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 15. Tom Taylor writing, Cian Turmey on the art. This is the finale to the current arc. Obviously, we're going to Kal-El returns next issue with Action Comics as well. So this is, we had the cliffhanger with Jay's mother being controlled by Bendix being the big kind of lead in get into this. And what's funny is we didn't like the reveal that his mother was the president, and that that was our least favorite part of this story up until this point. I will say it did an okay job with so there's a moment here where Jay's like, hey, you did this to me, you can't touch me because I'll just phase and you'll go through me, you can't punch me. And he's like, well, become corporeal right now so I can hit you, or I'm going to make your mother's head blow up, is basically what he says. And that's like, okay, so he has to go physical so he can get hit. So he starts beating him up, and Jay's getting the crap kicked out of him, and he has to let himself get the crap kicked out of him to save his mother's life. I thought that was an interesting little device, like as a plot thing,
Yeah, it really showed the difference between Bendix and Luthor, right? Luthor isn't that petty, right? Like, Luthor would just blow the lady's head off and then be like, this is your fault for showing up. Whereas Bendix definitely wants to get his hands dirty, which I do appreciate Tom Taylor taking the time to.
But what's fun about that, though, is that he's also too much of a coward to actually get his actual hands dirty. He's doing it through puppetry, effectively.
Right. So he's trying to do that. And I thought it also made for a good moment for Jay because it shows where his line is, right? That he still does want to save his mom. In effort, the rest of I just drew a blank on their home. I almost called it Genosha, and that's the wrong universe.
No, definitely not that. No, Gamora is the word you're looking for.
Gamora, there we go. I knew it was G.
Yeah, no, so he's on his own as well because basically, like, hey, because Bendix is focused on me, I can keep him busy. So Jay, John, you can go and save everyone else and get all the controls turned off and free all of the superpowered beings that are being controlled to fight everyone. And there's some fun stuff here. There's a lot more stuff where it's like people who work for Bendix are happy to just kind of like go along and help him. Like,
I love that too.
We're done with this shit, No need for it. So we get this great little montage where like it's the revolutionaries are fighting these various people, and they all just sort of stop and kind of go, "Where am I? What am I doing?" And it ends with Dreamer hugging one of them, which is actually kind of a sweet little moment.
Yeah. Well, I also like that they're like, "Oh, Bendix is gonna be in his tower, but only he can get in. You're gonna need like your own teleporter and everything is DNA locked." And John's just like, "I got this." So he goes to get Wink. And then they go in and he severs all of the ties, and that's when the people stop and look. And I thought it was all handled really, really well.
It was a good finale where everything kind of was sort of bouncing around and it all felt like it was climaxing together. You have immediately Luthor calls Bendix and says, "Okay, you're done. No, this whole thing's in the toilet. You've ruined everything." And it does a good job of saying, no, Luthor's much better at this than Bendix is. Bendix is overreaching too much.
Yeah.
So that's all really nice stuff. And you also get the nice little payoff as well, especially in a week where Damien's being controlled and being evil in another book. It was really nice to have good Damien in this book where he's the one who sneaks into where Bendix is and severs the connection so that he's no longer controlling Thingy's mother. And we get this great panel of Damien in silhouette, who's like, "You've been messing with my friend," and he comes over and smacks him for messing with John. It's very sweet, honestly.
Right, and that's the Batman meme, right? Of the smack to Robin.
You're right, it is, yeah.
Yeah, and that just.
I'll be honest, I never even noticed that, but now you've pointed it out, it is that panel. Yes,
it's that, but it was the red background that made me.
It's for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about. It's the "My Parents Are Dead" Batman slapping Robin panel. It's kind of like homaging that. Homaging.
Yes.
However you say it.
It's a fun word.
So yeah, but no, it's nice seeing Damien stick up for John in this weird way where, John's not even around to see it. This is just something Damien's doing on his own because he's pissed about it. But yeah, so this all leads to another big climactic moment because in his panic, Bendix rushes and teleports to their space station and tries to laser beam Gamora and destroy it with his Death Star style technology.
Yeah.
Few things I love about this. I love the build up to it. I love Dreamer getting a vision of it and being like, John, you have to go deal with this. My favorite panel in the book, by far, is the panel of John in space actually taking the blast of this laser beam. I love how small he is in the frame and we just see space behind him. It just feels very epic and also very kind of you know, like, I think this book doesn't, like, you know how sometimes in Action Comics right now, like we talk about how Philip K. Johnson does this thing where he sort of treats Superman through the eyes of all the people who look up to him.
Yeah.
So you have this feeling of awe, this feeling of inspiration. I would say that typically this book doesn't have that, and it treats Superman, and John specifically in this case, I mean,
of the people.
He's more like a Peter Parker, where we're with him the whole time, and he feels like a relatable human being. I think this moment sort of just for a second said, no, we're putting him in that position where he feels larger than life and awe-inspiring when he takes
mythic.
this laser hit. Yeah, mythic. Yeah, that's a good word. So I really love that moment. And then Lex Luthor kills Bendix by opening the airlock.
Yep.
And letting him go to his death, and then self-destructs the whole thing.
I love that Luthor was waiting there in his, Luthor suit, because he knew Bendix was going to try to do something stupid.
Yeah. A couple of interesting little beats here is that whilst John's absorbing all this hit, something weird happens to his body where his hands turn sort of like a bluey purple color, and his eyes sort of turn that color as well. So maybe we're manifesting some kind of like either defect or new power or something that we'll explore over time. But...
yeah, because he doesn't say it's something bad. It's almost like how I read it was almost like a self-preservation thing. Like his body just went into a different mode.
But it's something we're definitely going to explore in the future. Lex self-destructs the space station. Interesting little beat for him is that he's like, oh, a super teen, you're willing to sacrifice yourself to save others. I'll take advantage of that in the future. And I'm like, you say that, Lex, like that's not what you always do with Superman.
Yeah.
it's
maybe he thought John was different, right? Maybe he wasn't as much like his dad as he thought. But yeah, no Lex.
But he is though. That's the point.
No, I know, but Lex, you know how Lex is. Lex thinks he's always right even when he's wrong.
So then everyone's sort of calming down in the aftermath. And it ends with John kissing Jay in public in front of people filming. So their relationship, as well as both of their identities. I mean, obviously John was already public with his identity, but now both of them are going to be. It's
and the truth is out of the shadows. I like that too. Is that Jay? It seems like Jay can run the truth now without having to wear a mask. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So maybe there'll be some ramifications of this, and people, like knowing who he is, and I think given what this arc has been about, and like whether or not like can we trust Batman putting that seed of doubt in John's mind and stuff like that. The idea of being willing to sort of share this relationship with the public does feel like the kind of a fitting ending to it. So I actually thought this final issue, after maybe a couple of weaker issues in the run, I think this final issue was actually a pretty solid conclusion to this arc.
Yeah.
But I am excited to maybe move on from Gamora and away from like Jay's mother and stuff like that. And we definitely are, at least for one arc, because we're doing Return of Kal-El.
Yeah.
So.
And from Solicit, there's a new villain that's being introduced, like a brand new. So
that makes sense, I think.
Yeah, so that'll be cool to see. But no, it didn't feel rushed. Like I was worried this ending was gonna feel rushed, but the way that it bounced around from the characters, it was really well handled.
I think what was smart in the writing to me is that everything that happens in every scene directly sort of affected what happened to others in the next scene. So there was a very natural flow to it where, the puppetry like system for controlling the metahumans is like taken away. Very next scene, that affects all the fighting going on outside.
Right.
And then so on and so on. Like there was always kind of like a knock-on effect to the next scene. So it never felt like it was just jumping for jumping sake. And
right.
That is really impressive, actually, and I think it made this feel like a really well-constructed issue.
Yeah. I've heard when people write TV, instead of saying "and this happens," you do "this happens, therefore this happens," and that felt very much like this issue.
That basically goes for all writing, to be honest, in some capacity.
Yeah, but like when you're writing weekly TV, it's really easy to fall into like the lazy type of writing, you know. But yeah, so I felt that especially in this one because, like you were saying, they would talk about like you said, he needs a teleporter, so he goes to get Wink, and then because he has Wink, he can get into there and free the people and stop the fighting and all of that. It was like you said, it was really well balanced throughout.
Yeah. So, and the art's solid enough. You're seeing Termes has been fine on this book. I don't love the art. It's not like amazing, but it's very solid. Like I say, that one really special standout panel of John taking the blast. Otherwise, I would say it's a slightly quirkier house style at DC.
Yeah, I would say I feel this is Tormey's strongest issue, and I don't know if that's the inks and the colors. I don't know if they were different. Does Tormey always ink their art?
I have no idea.
Because I just checked the credits page and they're listed as an inker here. So, yeah, but I feel the art feels a little bit more hefty in this one than it has before. But I like it a lot. I think I like his Luthor in the suit is super bulky, which I like. And so his style really blends in for that. But yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the other moments that stood out besides, I mean, Damien there in the shadows, after Bendix was disconnected. That's really well handled because it's very much a Batman panel in a Superman book. So, I like Tormey's art.
Yeah. I mean, I like it well enough. I just don't think it's stand out. It would probably be a very low quality art week if I gave Tormey my art of the week. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, but no, it was a good final issue to the arc. And the arc's had its ups and downs, I would say, especially for we tend to praise Taylor a lot on this show.
Yeah.
I think this has definitely been overall one of Taylor's weaker things that we've read, but that's just because he typically is a bit more impeccable than this.
Yeah, everything's a lot, stronger, right? Like there's a high level of clearance.
So whereas this felt a bit more like, there's a weak issue here or there, there's some IDs in the story that maybe aren't as good as the rest of it, and so on. Yeah. So, what are you giving Batman? Superman, Son of Kal-El?
How dare you, sir? On Batman Day, nonetheless. I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Actually, I'd go at 8 for this one, to be honest. I'm surprised you went that low. This is one of the better issues of this arc, so I'm happy to give it the 8.